welcome to the Ellis County Commission meeting Tuesday, May 10th of 2026. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Bobby, if you can call roll, please.
Commissioner Nathan Liker,
Here.
Chair Neil Younger,
Present.
Commissioner Michael Burgess.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Order of business, no changes there.
Nope.
Okay, prior minutes, everyone have anything on that?
Look good.
Okay.
Minutes look fine.
The consent agenda, any questions or comments or?
I'll move to approve consent agenda items A through G. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Should all opposed, same sign. Issues from people that are not on the order of business? Anyone? Okay. Okay, the monthly departmental report. Anything?
I'd like to make a comment that it seems our public works has really taken shape over the past 3 months and pulled a lot of miles of shoulder. It seems conditions have been right for that, so hats off to them for trying to get some of this stuff brought back into shape.
All right. Okay, thank you for that. Wild West Fest, the West fee, Julie will not make it, so Tom will fill in for her.
Good morning, Commissioner Burgess, Commissioner Younger, Commissioner Liker.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Jordan. I'm representing Wild West Fest also.
My name's Tom Lippert. We come before you today, request to have the landfill fees waived for the Wild West Festival. This summer marks the 32nd Wild West Festival event. And the startup for this year will be setting up on June 27th through June 30th. The event will be held from July 1st to July 3rd. And we will the plan is to tear down on Sunday, July 5th. 2 years ago, the economic impact was estimated for the Wild West Festival, what they bring into the community at $1.9 million to our community. And that's something that probably keep going up as keep trying to grow the event. We appreciate the support from the county in the past and we request you to have the landfill fees waived for us again this year. Does anybody have any questions?
I have no questions, but I don't see why not. I mean, that's a pretty good chunk of change coming into Hayes, and yeah.
Any idea about how many roll-offs typically go up there, about how much waste normally comes through?
I'm thinking we have 2 full roll-offs, I think, was the last known.
Okay.
There may have been another half over the past year, but I'm trying to remember because I do both Oktoberfest.
Okay.
So I'm trying to keep both of them straight sometimes, but I think it was
About
maybe 2.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, at least 2, but
The third would be if we had an overflow.
I really have no concern. So
I don't think that we've done it in the past, and I'll just kind of make a note here, because my son at the Scouts, a lot of the trash pickup's done through volunteers, especially overnight, so the park's always picked up well after the events and taken care of, so all that trash is taken care of by volunteers, so you guys are putting in your effort with your committee and your event to make sure it's a good event, but also that the trash is taken care of and the park's put back together. So I think our part to kind of participate in that by waiving the fees is a good thing.
Okay. Well, with that, I'll move to waive the municipal waste fees for the 2026 Wild West Fest.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, all right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
We're always looking for volunteers.
I knew that was coming.
Contact me and we'll get you signed up.
Okay,
Thanks, Tom.
thank you.
Okay, tall grass development, the CUP resolution. Contribution agreement, Mr. Darren.
Morning, Commissioners. Darren Myers, County Administrator. Finally, before you on your agenda this morning is to start to discuss publicly the different agreements that we have been working on for the tallgrass solar development to the southwest of Hayes. As the commission has known, this has first come to the county and the Planning and Zoning Commission in late 2025. And then after that process to the county commission after their recommendations to review their permit, their application, and different documents that they've sent us as well. Since that time, we've been working towards this date of getting the conditional use permit together, and as well as the contribution agreement, or as some may call a pilot agreement. The documents before you were assisted in being completed by the hiring of two different firms, of which, when that was started, we asked the developers, IBV Energy, to assist the county since this was an unplanned solar project. We don't budget money for the fees associated with getting to this point. And they have since entered into a reimbursement agreement with the county, and they are reimbursing the fees into an escrow account to pay for those legal and consulting services. With that, the county commission agreed to hire Ms. Trish Both from Folston out of Wichita as the legal consultant to assist staff, as well as Mr. Jeter in helping put these documents together. And then with the needed expertise of the actual solar, how it works, and explain things from how it's going to impact the county and our perspective, Mr. Oleg Alba was hired from Acre Strong, and he has been assisted in the meetings as well. Trish is here today to answer any questions that the commission may have on these final documents. Oleg was out of town on a prearranged, or out of state, I should say, prearranged meeting before this. But before you today is the CUP, the conditional use permit to change the use of that ground from agriculture into use for the solar development. And then the contribution agreement that was formed as state statute allows these types of developments to have a 10-year tax abatement from the state as well as the local. This contribution agreement was created and offered by IBV to pay the county in those first 10 years. And the agreement for just the only really statistical or numbers as part of this agenda item, the contribution agreement starts once they start putting power or selling power or putting power onto the grid. That point, 1 year after that, that is when the first year that they will pay us. So we're still not essentially going to receive that money yet. The project has to be developed and built, but that first year agreement is 1.1 million, and then per year, which is just over $6,500 a megawatt, and then that will increment each year at 1% above that. With that, I know we've discussed this a lot over the last couple months, and I'll stop there and answer any questions, or if we need anything else addressed, I can do that.
I guess the only one we left out was Justin. He got a lot of work in it also, so appreciate everything you've done, Justin, too, and so.
Yeah, well, I will say that.
And Bill and you, it's
Bill and
Trish,
Justin and Trish and
lot of-
Oleg, and then even the individual commissioners' times, the nights, the weekends, the trips that we've made to meet down in Wichita with Trish. I appreciate all the time and effort that everybody's put in to try to get these documents right.
I guess I'll speak on some of the documents here, you know, specifically the conditional use permit. There was a list of probably 20 or 25 individual bullet pointed questions that we received as commissioners, that we came up with as commissioners, that were directly addressed through this process with our legal team and the IBV Energy, the solar company. And all those have been more or less worked out in this agreement that are on before us here. So I think we've come to a lot of good terms on how to proceed with all this.
I will say too, if you have any specific questions that you want more addressed, their engineer from IBV, Pat, is here, as well as their project manager. Stephen Link is out in the audience as well if they need to be addressed or asked any questions for.
Kind of hard to ask questions when you've been working, and you know, everybody's been working on this for 6 months now. I think they said slow it down, so we slowed it down, and I think we've answered a lot of questions. I guess in regards to upcoming, this doesn't have road agreements. It doesn't have anything like that. Some of these stipulations are going to come back to, we need to finish completing all these agreements.
Yes, the contribution agreement and the CUP are the initial ones that we agreed to start. Within these agreements, it does address several other agreements that will need to be worked on. And realistically, some of those can't be completed at this point, just a little bit too early. So for instance, the decommissioning plan, they need to finish developing the site, make sure that they get their plans and their documents 100% complete. It's the same as the emergency response plan. They may have to shift things a little bit left or right, so to speak. And then once they have all their maps, their documents, their plans put together, and like I said, they're addressed in the agreements here, but we'll have the road use agreement, the decommissioning plan, the decommissioning agreement, and the emergency response plan. And then there's some other permitting that's also required that they may have to complete as they work with their documents as well, like road permits, entrance permits that will go through the public works. But all of the state and federal regulations as well, they're not specifically addressed in the plan, but they are required and they're identified in the plan. They all have to be completed, but those aren't done through the county. All those regulatory processes are completed through the state and the federal ones. Another one local besides the road entrance permit would be the septic permit. If they move forward with that out there as well, that'll go through the environmental office.
Okay. One specific point, and I may refer this to Pat, the stormwater, one of the major topics or high points would be stormwater runoff and stuff like that. There's a stormwater management plan that is included in this document. Would you wish to speak to that just a little bit?
Morning,
Good morning.
Commissioners.
Good morning.
Pat Ripa here with IBV Energy, regarding the Tallgrass Development Project. Yes, so the stormwater plan and analysis that'll be performed will be pretty detailed for the entire site. It'll look at a series of different storm events going up to a 100-year storm event, which is a significant amount of rainfall, and it'll have calculations for how that's routed throughout the property, making sure that there's no increase in flow to existing areas, and making sure that any of that stuff is detained on site if there is an increase in flow. The site, we don't plan to grade too much on the site, really try to minimize all of that, so the change in the drainage patterns will be very limited. But that's the intentions of preparing that document. We're required to do that for not only for you guys, but for financing for the state agencies and making sure we comply with the SWIP for Kansas and the Clean Water Act provisions.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. Again, we've been working with this for months, and at one point I spent a Sunday and a Monday, something like 20 hours in Wichita with our attorneys and consultants with IBV across the table and went line by line through the whole thing. we're not voting today, so this is the opportunity for the public to see it. It'll be posted here for a few weeks, so the public can now go through and look at, we've done things with setbacks and fencing and environmental studies, and it all kind of addresses that, so if there are, so that's where I don't have questions, but if the public does have questions, certainly, reach out to a commissioner, read through the conditional use and provide the feedback and ask us for clarification. If the public has those questions, email or call over the next couple of weeks as this, the details of the CUP are put out. And I think commend my fellow commissioners and others that have worked on it. We put a lot of time and hours into this, so I think we addressed all the concerns coming out of the planning and zoning through those meetings. When there were lots of people there with their questions, I think we tried to address everything, and even those within the neighborhood took in their concerns as well. So that's my comments.
I, again, would like to thank everybody, including, our clerk. We went through a lot of timely meetings back and forth, and all the patience with everybody and doing this, and the expertise. I really appreciate that all. So.
Are there any points that either the solar or
Yeah.
public would like to make?
Anybody
Do you
in
have
the
anything
public?
Very quiet.
Pretty quiet. Anybody else? No one? Okay.
Wow. I guess it's going to take a little time to marinate and
It will.
let people come up with some questions if they have them. But I appreciate both of you being here today and answering questions for whatever would arise.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If anybody has any of those questions that come up after the fact, please send them to, and we'll do our best to answer.
Okay.
If we have individuals come up with questions, can we send questions to you directly? Or can we send them to ask you guys directly, why this or that? We can give them our side, but we can share your information as well. Is that correct?
Yes, please send directly to us, and we'll make sure to address those concerns, questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the tire amnesty day for Mr. Justin.
Good morning, Commissioners. Justin
Morning.
Gregg, Environmental Services Director.
Good morning.
Before you this morning is just the final details on our tire amnesty day we're asking to do out at the landfill. We're planning to hold it on Saturday, June 13th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Some of the major points, so we're going to offer that 1,000 pounds of tires per individual will be free. That we'll accept that day. Anything over 1,000 pounds will be charged at $100 a ton. Just a few minor details. We're asking that you remove any rims from the tires. If there's rims in the tires, you'll have to separate those, or it'll be charged the regular price of $300 a ton. You're gonna ask that you unload your own tires. We can help with our backhoe. There may be delays in waiting for that. There is an additional fee of $20 on that. We're gonna ask every vehicle across the scale. It's gonna be available for Ellis County residents, farmers, and local government. Just one stop for the free 1,000 pound, for the free 1,000 pounds. We're gonna ask that there is an Ellis County tag on the vehicle just to help us verify that you are an Ellis County resident. And then if you bring any other materials, keep those separate because they'll have to be weighed and placed somewhere else. I'll stand for any questions.
I guess, are we gonna put this up on the billboard so everybody knows, or get it out on social media? So,
Yeah, we'll have it on Facebook.
Okay. Okay.
We did have some flyers created that are in the agenda there, so.
Those are normal Saturday hours.
9 to 4 is usually our normal Saturday hours. We're gonna shut down early in case we need to clean up and
Okay.
if there's anything picked up.
And I'm sorry. And the secured load policy will still stand with this tire amnesty day.
Yes, secured load policy still stands.
How's that going?
I feel pretty well. I mean, there's still a few here and there, but I think for the most part, it's really helped out. I don't see as much trash, I feel it's helping. Now it's kind of sunk in, been enforced a little, so.
Are we on the enforcement phase of it at this point?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, so
okay.
we're full enforcement unless, some exceptions if there's good reason. We'll waive it.
Okay, thank you, Justin.
I really have no concerns going forward, so let us know, keep us posted how this goes.
All right, will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the Kansas Regional Chronic Disease, Melissa,
Good morning, Commissioners.
good morning.
Good morning.
Melissa Miller, Ellis County Health Department Director. I wanted to give a quick update on the Kansas Chronic Disease Intelligence and Action Pilot Program grant application that the Health Department submitted in partnership with Wichita State University. It's a mouthful, and we've jokingly come to refer it as the grant. We've had some conversations about this grant previously due to the size and scope of the grant process. This is part of the state's Rural Health Transformation Plan, which is underneath the federal government's Rural Health Transformation Act that they came out with. So they had the funds, and then each state competed essentially for those funds, and then Kansas won their funds, and then distributed or are in the process of distributing grant funds to applicants. We had hoped to know by May 15th if we had received our grant, and there's been a timeline delay, so hopefully the end of May. But I wanted to give an update just because there's been a lot of positive work and collaboration happening around the application already. The idea behind the grant is centered around the reality that public health challenges don't stop at county lines. Those challenges can also be, just more difficult, I guess, in the rural counties. They can lead to frequent ER and hospital visits, lower quality of life for our residents. And so in rural Kansas especially, many communities are dealing with similar chronic diseases, which that's the goal of this grant and this funding is to create a pilot program to see if there's a way that we can be more intentional about helping people with things that we're all dealing with, obesity, high blood pressure, access to care, which those can all lead to preventable hospitalizations. One thing that I think that's important to recognize is that public health funding and healthcare models in general are continuing to shift. Those funding sources are looking for and they're encouraging opportunities for collaboration and then measurable outcomes. Rural communities that build strong partnerships and work together are more likely to be in a stronger position for future funding opportunities and healthcare investments. So that's really our goal for this. We've applied for the grant in hopes of shaping those ideas and showing the data for continued sustainability. Our goal is to improve communication, strengthen partnerships, and explore shared services and strategies where that makes sense. And this was one of your goals when I was hired, so I felt like it partnered well with the overall hope of public health in Ellis County. One of the things that I've really appreciated during this process is the amount of support and conversation that it's already created. We received letters of support and interest from surrounding counties, as well as our local hospital and federal qualified healthcare center. And that alone has been valuable because it's opened up the doors to discussions about how we can better align those efforts. We all have shared goals, but how can we do it in a way that shares the information and supports each other while still maintaining that local autonomy for each entity? We would be looking at communities' health assessments, which each community typically does. It's usually ran by the hospital. So we would partner with each community and hospital to see what the needs are in their community. And then essentially Ellis County would be the hub of public health. And we could look and see what each community's specific needs are and then how we could use this grant funding to meet those needs with shared resources. So the grant itself supports the planning, coordination, and area engagement, as well as the development of staff, tools, evidence-based strategies. So we'd be looking at practical ways to go out and help our community and then surrounding communities. And a big part of this is collecting data to see if this model works and then reporting that back. And then if it's a sustainable model, then it can be modeled by other counties, other rural areas. It's a really good chance to, instead of being told how to do healthcare from higher up, it's a chance for us to go in on the groundwork and make our own plans with our own small communities and see what works with outside funding sources for this pilot project. So I had hoped to be able to say, yes, we received the grant and here are the next steps that we need to look at. We don't have that yes yet, but I felt like this would be a step to let you see the information, hear about the grant again, and then I will keep you posted when we hear further word. Saline County is also going to be a pilot program. And so we have somebody close to us, a little bigger than us to partner with. And then WSU is helping with all the data technology and the oversight on that especially. Are there any questions that I can answer at this time?
Is there any indication on when this will actually kick off?
End of May. End of May is my hope. Funds would be awarded in July, and then
Okay.
kickoff is really quick after that. It's a short timeline. It's the grant program for the starting piece is 15 months. So it's
Okay.
a short turnaround for a program.
So, and there will be a slight ramp up in contract labor that we see here in Ellis County.
There would, yes, there would be some job hires that positions that we would have term limited according to the grant.
Okay. So you're all geared up, ready to go with just
We-
waiting.
We are really excited, yes. We're anxious to get that yes for the grant. If something happened and we didn't get the grant, we feel like we've got some really good relationships already being formed between our health entities and other counties but yeah, waiting for the yes on the grant.
Okay. Thank you. We'll keep it up.
Okay, thank
Can
you.
Go into, again, like the chronic diseases, the focus on this, because I think since COVID, as a public, we all get really jumpy when we talk about disease, so COVID and hantavirus right now or whatever else, but this is geared towards more like diabetic, any kind of touch diabetics, obesity,
Yes.
high cholesterol, high blood pressure, things that really impact our rural communities.
Mhm.
And so would you just kind of touch on that, just so that way the public kind of understands when they see disease, this isn't a
Right.
program. And disease and government in general,
Yes.
they kind of jump to, extremes.
Understandably, yeah. For the chronic diseases, it's those diseases that you kind of tend to get ignored or not paid attention to. Or especially in rural communities, it's making a trip into another place larger for care. So if we can have eyes on the ground, more like a monitoring, so that we can monitor blood pressure. For diabetics, foot care is a big issue, and we just don't have enough foot care opportunities. Not only in Ellis County, but in the surrounding counties, Trigo and Rush. And so if we can hire somebody to go out into those communities and provide that service, or maybe they have that service and just need the additional funding for that to keep that supportive, we can help, like diabetics with foot care, keeping them healthy, watching out for any potential problems, referring on to their physician. It's just kind of more eyes on the ground in the communities. And then with that data, monitoring what we're seeing and watching for, like problems that if there are high rates of something somewhere, we could really get focused care for that. It was also mentioned when in talking with the hospital, insurance stays are getting shorter, swing bed days are getting cut down. Eyes on the patients after they go out to their communities would be really helpful for the hospital. They could reduce rates of people coming back in, those ER visits, that kind of thing. So that's the overall goal of that, is a little more like monitored, regulated health versus like where you were talking about like a pandemic kind of thing. This is more just like those everyday things that we can kind of let get out of hand, but they can lead to some serious heart disease, those kind of problems.
Thank you.
It's like a catch it early.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, preventative health rather than reactive health.
Okay. No, I appreciate everything you've done, and like you say, the comments you made that we wanted something like this and you're already on it. And I guess my other question is, how was the training comparing to last year when you all took off and went?
Oh, yeah, it was very good.
Okay, because I haven't talked to you since, so,
Yes, yeah. Yeah, our
Good.
conference was done really well.
good,
Lots of different topics and everybody got something out of it. It was really good.
okay. So was this one of them that you brought to us, or was this already in your makings?
No, this was a topic of conversation.
Okay,
At the
good.
conference, yeah.
Good deal.
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
requested.
Keep
Thank
us,
you.
keep us updated.
Okay, the law enforcement renovation project, Darren?
Good morning once again. The law enforcement renovation has been something the commission has been looking at and considering over the past year or so. As we started last year's staff retreat, got brought up that one of the capital projects needed to be completed in the coming years. It's hard to believe it was more than a year ago when we started that discussion, but since then, we hired Hutton Builders out of Salina to come in and give us some conceptual ideas and drawings and everything to get to a better point of what possibly could be done structurally, but also how it would flow throughout the building for when the Hayes PD moves out. They're currently remodeling the building across the street, the old Astor Bank building, and are expected to be vacating our law enforcement center in around the October timeframe. So with that, we had those conceptual drawings put together, and the sheriff and the dispatch staff and IT and buildings and grounds, we've all been working on it to make sure it was going to be something that would work. It all worked, so to speak, conceptually, which allowed us to get estimates on how much it would cost to make the renovations and do some of the upgrades as part of that project, which it kind of leads us to today, where we took those drawings and created a request for proposals for a design bid proposal to renovate the building. And since then, we had a pre-bid meeting, which was required to be responded to the RFP. We had 5 contractors present, but also many other architects and subcontractors that were there as well that were interested in the project. Since then, of those 5, some of those contractors made revisits and did additional work within the building, inspections to ensure that was a requirement of the bid to make sure that they were doing their best effort with their bid, but also their bids of their subcontractors to be as close as possible in the design bid budget that the contractor would put together. With that all being said, when we received the proposals several weeks ago, one contractor stood out the most in regards to meeting the most of the requirements of the RFP. More specifically, as a design build project, you usually have the request, or it is that you have a contractor that works with an engineer architectural firm. And PwC was the only contractor that stated and had their contractor, subcontractor licensed with, or partnered with, I'm sorry, stumbling there, with Tesserae. They're an engineering architectural firm out of Wichita. And they've been back in the building several times, and since the pre-bid up to the bid, but also after that, trying to narrow some items down and making clarifications that we have a good proposal in front of you. So part of that project, just to start off with, before I get down into all the bullet points, is the request for the law enforcement center to be renovated through a design build contract with PwC in the amount of $1,839,900. The RFP had a budget of $1.8 million, not to include any alternates and contingency. With this proposal of $1.839 million, that includes all alternates and the contingency. So we are under budget for what we had projected for that piece of the project. Now, to move on to the next piece, I'll pause before I get into the larger budget and all the other contracts that are part of this packet. But with the design build with PwC, Matt Allen is here representing PwC. He's the one that put the proposal together and linked himself up with Tesserae. And I'll take any questions here on the design build piece of it. If you have anything more specific as well, Jeff Ridgway, our communications department, is here. He can answer any questions pertaining essentially to the basement and the movement of the 911 center. And then Greg Herbert, our lead facilities, is here to talk about any of the mechanical engineering, plumbing, HVAC discussion that we had. And then obviously the sheriff is here as they'll be expanding over to that vacated area, but they're all ready to answer any questions on these topics as well.
Okay.
And if you have none, I can continue, I guess. Don't want to force you into some questions, but one thing I will add on this is the bid is $1,839,900. Between the different proposals that we had, PwC offered two different types of options for the HVAC. That was one of the big question marks we had in the proposal on how we were going to address that. Part of that is why we required a licensed third-party engineer to be linked with this, which they have with Tesserae, is we have a conceptual idea of what we think. We all think, Greg, Scott, myself, can be done. So PwC had two proposals that he had from subcontractors for the HVAC upgrades. They were, I wouldn't say varied quite a bit, but they varied in scope and the amount. And we took those plans, we did some more work, kind of narrowed it in, and we got an estimate on what it would take to do that. If the commission approves this, PwC will work with the engineers. They'll go back in the building. They'll actually set the scope out, and then PwC will rebid that process or that part of the building out for the HVAC work. And then we're hoping, I'm crossing my fingers because you never know in these days, but we're hoping with that new scope and having a better bid to go off of, PwC might be able to get additional bids that will be cheaper than what this overall price is. And if we do that at a future meeting, the plan is at the June 2nd meeting, we'd have the full proposal and the AIA contractual documents for the project on your agenda for approval as well. But if that design comes in and the HVAC prices come in lower than anticipated, we have an exhibit or an addendum to that contract that PwC will file, and then we'll reduce that amount of the contract award. Worst case scenario, it's we're all wrong and we have to do something different, and the price could go up. But you know, we're hoping that the price could come down a little bit.
And that bid's included in the 1.8 for the design build.
Yes, sir. It included there was a couple different alternates in there to look at the issue in the basement is I know Commissioner Younger, we're still going to meet over there to show you a little bit more in depth of what we're talking about. But when we walked Commissioner Burgess and Liker through, we kind of showed you that the basement needed some rework because it doesn't have the piping system of the HVAC, the two-pipe system. So a solution down there is there's really no conditioned, heated, or cooled air to that part of the basement. So that was kind of one alternate, is to come up with a plan on how to fix that. But then even that varied in scope is, you can run pipes down there and hook it into the system? Does the system have capacity? Could you put a VRF system in? Could you put mini splits in? Could you then tie them all to the building controls? So there's a lot of options on how you can budget that. But then upstairs as well, there's the addition that was done 10, 15 years ago. How do you get the fresh air in there? But then do you use the existing two-pipe system and buy new fan coil units, or have an analysis done on the building and move some fan coil units around that may not be needed in other parts of the building? So those are the types of the areas of will be narrowed down, and have the engineer do their analysis to make sure what we have on paper can actually work.
Okay. Is this taking into account switching out the air handling unit? That would be in the new dispatch center?
The proposals didn't feel that the air handler needed to be replaced. What will be done is the ductwork coming off the main trunks, which go down the hallways. At this point, like I say, the engineers will confirm all this, but they'll put some dampers and reductions into some of the rooms that may have too much airflow, which will increase the airflow in the other parts of the building. but then putting in these additional units in that part of the north basement could increase the airflow and better temperate the air as well.
Okay.
Any idea how old those air handlers are?
Life of the building, I believe.
Okay.
Okay, I guess moving on to the bullet points here, there's a plumbing contractor bid, that's the first bullet point. There's a misprint on the number that's listed there, but you want to go through that with the plumbing and the,
That makes sense. I look at that 400.
there, yeah, there's a misprint there.
The PO is correct. The total amount is 77,680. I think I hit the
That makes
4
sense.
and the
It's
dollar
hard to
sign.
get that for Fund 129, 129 doesn't, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
So during one of the walkthroughs of the building, a subcontractor made the comment of, before we do all the work to the building, maybe look at the plumbing underneath the building a little bit to ensure that there's no leaks, cracks, or any issues with the plumbing underneath the floor. So we had a local contractor come in and smoke and camera the lines and work with Greg on that. And then I don't believe they found any cracks or leaks but there was wear in the pipes that eventually, 50, 60-year-old building, cast iron underneath the ground is gonna have wear lines. So they made a suggestion and two companies nobody locally does it, but Ladue, I think is how you say it, Ladue Plumbing, was one of the companies. The other one refused to bid or didn't bid because it was too far out and they were too busy. They're located, I believe, in the Kansas City area. But Ladue Plumbing can do that work. Basically, what they'll do is cut a hole in the basement of the floor, cut into the pipe, and then they'll line all the main trunk lines, but then all the trunks that come, the plumbing lines that come in and feed into that main trunk line, they'll line the interiors of those pipes and extend the service line or extend the use of those pipes for a long time.
Okay.
And that's the bid of 77,680. That line there won't come out of the bond budget. We have some remaining funds of approximately $139,000 in the sales tax that was collected when we renovated the building 10, 15 years ago. So that fund would pay for that repair there, that work. But then our intention with the remaining funds of that, we don't have it set aside and it's not part of this, but once the renovations upstairs start happening roughly in December, January of this year, next year, and we've talked to commercial builders about this, when all the walls are opened up, the ceiling tiles are opened up, we would like to get a contractor in there to look at all the cast iron piping and doing inspections on all the fittings, the valve or the vents and everything to make sure that there's no leaks for sewer gases or just plumbing leaks, or if any of the cast iron. I believe the service life was about 50 years is what they estimate on cast iron piping. So we're at that 50 years. So if all the ceilings and the walls are opened up, now's the time to replace any of that. So with that sales tax fund 129, we'd have about $60,000 that we could use after we have a better idea of all the plumbing that's in the building that may need to be replaced or fixed or just replaced for the fact that it's getting old. So that way we don't do all these renovations and then have issues in the future. Any questions on that piece?
Just comment to all the, citizens and community people in Ellis County and Hayes. If this wouldn't be getting lined, that number, that 4 in front of that 7, if we'd have to cut all the concrete up and do that, it would probably be surpass that. So that's been in the makings a long, long time of lining sewer lines, and it does work. So this is another one of the deals that we can say as all 3 commissioners, administrator, Mr. Jeter, that we are trying to save our people money. So here's a good part of it. So that would be a tremendous amount of money to cut that concrete all up and redo that. As we're lining these, is it important that we make a map of some of this when it's done in case a wall is installed or something, and then we drill through it to anchor a wall down or something, or,
So Greg has the original
Okay.
and many
Okay.
updated plans for the building, which identifies where all those are at. And then with the design build, any of the new plumbing that will be done or changed, we'll have as-builds.
Okay.
That'll update any of the, like the new plumbing for the new bathrooms upstairs, because they're completely being torn out and relocated essentially, and ADA compliant bathrooms will be in there. So we'll have drawings
Okay.
for all those as well.
good. Good deal.
Moving on to the next bullet point is, since we're occupying the other half of the building, the sheriff is extending the reach of the security cameras for the building. So this is a quote from our contractor that's already in the building with all their servers and cameras and lines and everything. This is to extend those services downstairs and also over onto the PD side as well to have, sorry, I'm trying to update the screen here. To get camera services, security services in that building and throughout, all onto the same system. And then moving on to the next one, some of these are a lot simpler, I guess, but going down into the basement, the dispatch would be moving from their current location to the new location. This would actually be the third location in the law enforcement center over the years, to my knowledge, that the dispatch center has moved over the 50 years they've been in there. They used to be essentially in the center of the upstairs, kind of where the sheriff's office is at now, in that kind of center location. About 20 years ago, they moved downstairs into the center of the basement, almost directly below it, to a little bit bigger room. And now they're moving into a larger room just on the north side of the basement, which is, they're going to have, I would say, maybe almost 3 times the amount of space between not just their room, but they're going to have multiple offices, a conference training room, and more efficient space for them to have storage, but then have a training room as well. And then instead of having only a limited space for what they have now, 4 dispatch positions, it's going to have them the ability to move up to 6 in the main room as well. So with that move, there's a lot of each of those positions has I don't even know now, 6, 8 monitors that are on multiple arrays on the desks and 5, 6 computers underneath. So when you think about all that, and then it's all connected to the servers and the switches and the 911 system, all the cabling, all the computers, the mounts and all that, that all has to be done. It's through a contract that we have for any maintenance. But First Wireless out of Great Bend is our sole source vendor that can do all that work. So that estimate is in here, or their quote, for just over $27,000. But then the 911 system with AT&T is that next bullet point. They would come in and reroute all of the networking cable and everything to those computers and monitors, and that's how they receive all of the 911 phone calls. All the other equipment is how it's linked to our CAD system, to mapping, to the paging, the radios, and all that as well. And then I guess I'll stop there on those 3. The cameras, the dispatch center move, and another bullet point with the dispatch center that I should have had all of them together is the consoles. They're really expensive, big desks that have heating and air conditioning in them because dispatchers sit there 24 hours a day. They move up and down, and they have that conditioned air, and then they have a lot of equipment that's in them for storage of all those computers, and they're built to last. Those are past their serviceable life. Just recently, we needed to replace the legs that move them up and down as needed, and I believe that quote was over $11,000.
With the installation.
So just to replace the legs on it was over $11,000. So it's quite
Yeah,
expensive.
when we replaced the legs on, Jeff Ridgway, Director of Communications, when we replaced the legs on one of the consoles, I think it was 22 or 23, the original quote was a little over $11,000, $11,000, but that included the labor to do that installation, and we were able to commence our our expert back here to help save us, and ultimately those legs ran closer to 8,000. But that's just the legs themselves. So just goes the durability of these desks that we've utilized, and we did, or rather I did, reach out to other vendors and see what other alternatives are out there, and the other pricing I got was significantly higher than what the option we're going with today.
Any other questions on the dispatch piece of everything that kind of encompasses that part of it?
So the dispatch furniture piece, the new consoles and stuff, some of that, a number of those things have already been budgeted for and are not in our bond. Is that correct?
No, so all this will be, it is budgeted, and it is in the bond. And I
Okay.
was kind of going to go through that chart here at the end just to kind of
Okay.
explain that a little bit better. Just because that 1.839 million was under what we had budgeted for the design build piece of it. All this other was budgeted in capital. So in the future, our capital expenses are going to not have to come out of that fund. It comes out of the bond. So there's some relief there for the future. But this is all part of the overall budget that we had for the law enforcement center, which all
Okay.
tie it together at the very end.
Okay.
Another part of the project was the refrigerator and freezer that is being installed into, or is being requested to be installed into the west bay of the law enforcement center and the sheriff's bays, where they bring their inmates in, but it would be cordoned off into an area that's really not used for anything else, to install a walk-in refrigerator and cooler. Currently, as the commission is well known about the size of the jail and the facility, it's very limited on space, so they don't have room to store their food, and they have to make multiple trips, sometimes every week, to go pick up their food. The sheriff has a good partnership with Dickinson County. They store food, and they try to make trips out there to pick it up when they need to, or if they're transporting an inmate around the state, they can pick it up and, create some efficiency there. But this cooler being installed in there allows them the ability to store all that food locally, and that's done within the budget as well. And with the use of some other POs, that total amount is only just over $30,000 to install that. But that does include the next, sort of the next two bullet points is the electrical service, condensate lines and some plumbing and all that to be assisted, is a contract with RDH to do some of that work, and with some other funds that we have available. That price would only be, the purchase order would only be $825. But we also had RDH, since they're going to be there, is down in the dispatch center is where the annunciator panels are for the fire alarm, the generator, the UPS device, as well as an old probably 1970s style fire alarm panel that's still all lit up, but it's not used. So we're gonna have all those annunciator panels moved, and then that old fire alarm, or I think it's more of a security alarm system, would be disabled. And those annunciator panels would be moved over into the dispatch center, so they're monitored 24 hours a day with the dispatchers who are there also 24 hours a day. I think at that point, those are all the bullet points of what's in your packet today. The only things that we don't really have left is I sort of talked to you about the plumbing. That we'll work with that in the future. The sheriff is working on a schedule for all the door locks. We have access control, but he's meeting with the vendor. They have a special secure keyed system that we just want to make sure we have all the handles and the locks and the cylinders identified appropriately, and then create a master list on how those are all divvied up throughout the building, and rekey everything to resecure the building as Hays PD moves out, and those old keys are no longer going to be used. We have an RFP out currently for the jail control system, which is also part of the overall budget of it. Those are due back to the sheriff in mid-June, and that's a part of the overall budget, and we'll have that before you, pending those results and any questions that the sheriff may have as part of the review process of the RFPs, but they'll be on your July 7th meeting. And then the final little piece that we haven't really talked about is how do you occupy the building? And because you're going to need, you have a brand new training room there, so you need tables and chairs, TVs, AV equipment. You'll have a break room area for tables and chairs. You'll need a refrigerator, microwave. IT's expanding into a whole new half of the building, so there's a big portion of that 80,000 is those tables and chairs for the training room. But then the next biggest piece is equipment for IT to have their networking equipment installed, their switches, their cables and plates and covers and all those specialized services. So to kind of wrap that all up into the chart that's in your packet, the overall budget for all of these that are listed, whether they're on today's or a couple of those that are out there withstanding that'll come before you within the next couple of months, is just under 3 million. With all the expenses that we have, plus those unknown costs of the jail security controls and the furniture, which will come later. Overall budgeted, we're under budget by just under $500,000. The project up above for the design build of that 1.839 million, that does have a 5% contingency in there as well. So that could lower that down in the future as well. It won't be spent if it's not used. So that gives us a little bit of leeway there. Everything else is shouldn't have any change orders on anything, but as I mentioned to Commissioner Liker yesterday on the phone, this is a renovation with a lot of unknowns that we tried to make known by having many contractors work through and have a lot of eyes on it. We could have change orders. This is a design build, so essentially if the bid is there for the work that was specified, but if the example that I used yesterday, if Commissioner Liker wants to come in and say that this door needs to move here to there, and that's not part of the project, that would be a change order, which would increase the cost, which is understandably for the contractor, for PWC, is they didn't bid that. Not saying that Commissioner Liker wants to move doors. That's just an easy example.
As far as the walk-in cooler / freezer, which is used more? I mean, are they going to be equal? How big is it?
Good morning,
Good
Commissioner
morning.
Scott Brown, Ellis County Sheriff. Sorry, I don't know why my voice isn't, you guys are probably glad I can't talk that much, so. The freezer is gonna be a little bit bigger than the refrigerator side, with that. So, that's how we designed it, so, we'll move it over as we need to unthaw it, and then they'll take it upstairs and put it in the smaller one upstairs, so. We've needed it for a little while. We're just fortunate that we've been able to work with Dickinson County, who has the same vendor we have. That's our connection.
So physically size, what are we looking at? So our people
16 by 7.
Okay.
So it'll be pretty good sized.
Okay.
Thank you.
know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And further clarification, as you may be thinking of any other questions, the motion before you is to approve several purchase orders. And those purchase orders are specified out either for the design build or those bullet pointed items like the plumbing, the electrical, the fire alarm panels and such. So it's we don't want to have you make 7 or 8 different motions for each
Right.
one, but they're all the purchase orders that we got from the clerk's office are all numerical in order. So that's why I just grouped them together and made it easier. And everything is spelled out more detailed in the agenda itself.
The way we're approaching this with the law enforcement center, this is the way we're going to approach the other multiple projects that we have slated for this bond, is a design build and try and limit the amount of change orders necessary. We're trying to do it the most effective, efficient way possible.
Yeah, so the next two HVAC projects, one is for the approximately 100 fan coil units of this building and the other is, which will be first before this one, is the courthouse replacement of that VRF system. Not as detailed as this because it's renovation. You have mechanical, electrical, plumbing, doors, walls, construction, structural, all that being taken place. But those will be design build as we put those out is we will have a contractor work with a licensed third-party engineer to ensure that the fan coil units are being spec'd out and properly done. So that way when it comes back, everything is not just a contractor locally saying this is what needs to be done. They're partnering with a third-party licensed engineer to do it as well. And then it's yet to be determined on the EMS station over in Ellis. But most likely, I would suggest that it's just knowing yet what the building is. We might have, that's the next item on the agenda. The proposal is that we would find a piece of land and be able to build a pre-engineered metal building to make it work. If somebody over there offers us a building, that scope would change a little bit. Now you're doing more of a renovation and retrofit to make it work. So can't really speak to how that may look yet, but that'll be in the coming months of what that would be a part of.
Okay. I have no further questions on.
Yeah.
So 5% contingency is roughly between 90, 100,000 on this project. That's our contingency. That's not the contingency to Paul Wardenberger, right? So again, we can save that if the project, there's no.
Yeah, if we don't spend a dime of the contingency, PwC doesn't get to keep that. It's just at the final bid, it'll be just, I believe it was, Matt, can you confirm? I think it was 60,000 is what we ended up doing on the overall contingency. So if we don't use any contingency, there's no change orders, which that would be excellent. You could take that 1,839,900 minus 60,000, and that would be as of today, the way it sits. So that would be just under 1.8 million. That does include, I guess I could explain the alternates if you wanted, that we did select.
Yeah, you might as well. While you're looking that up, so the rebid on the HVAC stuff, so again, just for my clarification, we're not sending that back out to Paul Wardenberger will do that rebid themselves to various contractors to find it. So there could be some potential savings there, but that could also take into that contingency part.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so if the commission approves this today, they'll get Tesserae in, they'll start doing their engineering analysis on the HVAC, the mechanical piece of it. And then for what we have before you today, and if it works, they'll create essentially a bid document and send it out and as fully Matt with PwC's choice, send it out to whichever vendors that he wants to and bring that back as part of the proposal. And then we would update with an additional exhibit or addendum to the contract with a new price amount, which I keep saying because I'm hoping, and Matt's just going to smile at me, but hopefully it's lower than what we had in here. Like I say, it's not going to be a large dollar amount, but it's just going to be a more accurate bid because that's the biggest question mark is how exactly do you bid that out when you just ask for suggestions and then put a price on what your suggestion is. And the contractors that they had two varying suggestions. So we kind of married those together and got an estimate for what could be done. And then we'll verify that with the engineers and then that'll get rebid with PwC.
Okay. Well, with that, I'm going to move to approve purchase orders 7991 through 7998 for items listed below for the law enforcement renovation and related projects.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
As a follow-up to Commissioner Burgess's question, the alternates that we selected, there were about 8 or 9 of them, but there's a chase in the backside of the reception area of the sheriff's office. It's 2-3 foot wide it sticks out into their area by about 2 or 3 foot. It used to, it's just a chase that goes from the basement all the way up to the law enforcement center. There's two, they're not really sewer pipes, but I believe they're the pipes that collect the water on the roof that drain it down into the sewer system. They're just going to have to be relocated over 3 foot, and then they'll remove that little chase so that way it opens up, makes their office space a little bit bigger, but also more efficient. And then 2 alternates that we kind of talked about already are the HVAC options for the basement and for moving the dispatch center over, as well as the alternate to redo some of the HVAC and fresh air work upstairs on the PD side. And then the other alternate was to remove a wall in the basement where the communications director is. There's a wall between 2 offices. They don't need 2 offices, so just removing that wall out of there. And then there's a little bit in there for the test and the balance of the HVAC equipment, depending on what is actually ultimately decided on the HVAC, to give an allowance in there to make sure everything is tested and balanced out. And that should be all that we had for the alternates on the bid.
I guess one of my concerns is, and Scott may have to come up and explain it, but when Hayes PD moves out, are we staffed good enough to maintain what we've been doing in partnership with them?
Well, Scott Brown, Ellis County Sheriff. In regards to our detention, as you know, I brought it before the commissioners, in regards to it potentially adding 2 more detention officers. In the past, with them in our building, more often than not, there was someone there from the PD working when we have a situation in the jail. And so they were able to assist us. I don't know if they will be able to make it across the road in time, or they're tied up and those types of things. It's not really a function of them. I don't think we can expect them to do so. If they do, we're definitely excited to have them and their help. But I think we need to fall back on ourselves and look to potentially look at least a couple to get a few more on there. We run at a very low minimum staffing number nationally. It's kind of all over the place. I've tried to get some hard numbers for you guys, but it depends on how the structure is, how the building's laid out, if there's multiple floors, etc. We have the multiple floors within our facility because we have a booking downstairs and we have our jail upstairs, the holding. And so I will come back with asking for at least 2 additional detention officers at some given point in time as we proceed forward with this. But this has been presented to you before in our work session, although I didn't do it, my undersheriff did. So does that answer your question?
Yes, I'm just looking into the future
Okay.
and here pretty quick, so.
And I have numbers for you. So, okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Ellis Land press release, Darren?
That is just as the next part of the bond project is the courthouse HVAC. The next other building project in terms of like construction is the possibility of putting up a joint EMS fire facility over in Ellis. We don't have any land over there that is large enough that the county owns to be able to do anything. The lots that we do have for the 2 separate buildings that are there, you essentially have to. Well, neither lot is really large enough to make it work without relocating them and tearing down the building and putting up a new one. So we're looking at doing a press release to find out if there's any landowners over in Ellis, whether they have an open land that works, that they are willing to potentially sell to the county. We are asking that it's not in the floodplain, which, pretty much all downtown Ellis along Big Creek is in the floodplain. You don't want to build a brand new fire EMS station and then we actually get rain. I know we don't get that very often, but have our first responders stuck in a flood zone. But looking for either a piece of land that's large enough, which I kind of put in here in the specifications for that. And then depending on what we get offered, either it's a piece of land or a building, we can determine what the next steps are on if it's being renovated or a new building. We have a budget set aside which was in the bond for a simple pre-engineered metal building. I know there's a rumor out there that we're building a Taj Mahal of an EMS station over there. That's not the case. It's essentially a 140 by 90 metal building. Might have a little bit of a brick facade on the front if we go that route, just to spice up the front a little bit and make it look presentable. But other than that, there's nothing special about it. There were some alternates in there that may make it more expensive, but at this point, it's way too early to determine. We offered the city of Ellis the idea of maybe adding 2 more bays on it so they could put their fire equipment in there as well, to give them more room. It would be about the cheapest they would ever be able to essentially expand their fire department or put them into a joint or a new facility. We haven't heard anything back on them. I think Commissioner Burgess and I talked to them as many months ago now, but to put that bug in their ear. But one of the other options was to put a mezzanine, like a second story above the office and classroom space over there, for future storage. So that way a third of that building, if it's living quarters, bathrooms, restrooms, storage, classroom, kitchen, all that. If the building's tall enough is to, above your false ceiling is to have a second story for storage. But I believe the price that we got on the estimate was quite high. But that would be something that would be as an alternate when we go out to do like a design build for that, is give us an alternate to add 2 more bays on, so the city of Ellis has full estimate of how much that option would be, as well as if we put a second story on there or not. All that's dependent on the size of the building that somebody could offer us, but also the size of the lot. You can't overbuild on the size of a lot, and we could be restricted on that as well. So with that, I guess if anybody has any land over there, knows anybody, realtors, landowners, residents, the information is here. We just asked anybody to contact us back by the end of June. My contact information is on here, and then we'll bring that forth, Danita and I, and we'll bring it back to the commission for considerations into the future. And we do already have 2 landowners that have reached out to offer us. One was a building and one is a piece of land. So hopefully we'll get some more and see what some options are.
Okay.
I hope we can have that discussion with Ellis to get them out of the floodplain too, and get them in there with us to while we're at it. But time will tell, and I guess we got to wait to hear back from them.
That's all I have with that.
Public on the bond, so we bonded 10 million, right, for the total of all these projects. So here we are, the first project in, we're about 500,000. So ideally, everything stays the same. We'd be 500,000 under our bond limit. What can we do with? I mean, we don't necessarily need to spend it on other projects or expand on projects. Can we prepay the bond? Can we set that aside, or what are our options there as far as saving taxpayers?
The bonds are callable, so we can essentially, we could pay them off completely early. We could use the funds to pay an annual payment if we did have money that was left over. But I think as we progress through these projects a little bit more and we have a better understanding of what that total dollar amount could be, is to continue to have discussions with our staff, but most importantly, Greg, with facilities. And if we have a roof that needs to be replaced, we could use those funds to replace the roof of a building. As you know, the K-Camp changed their policies, and we have a couple of roofs that aren't necessarily uninsurable, but after 20 years, they could become uninsurable. But then you also have depreciation So getting some of the roofs up to standard, like potentially even this building is part of that lease that had to be part of with the PBC. This roof on top here could be replaced as an EPDM roof. So that is an option. The courthouse roof, I think maybe the next one that's the closest, Greg's shaking his head yes. So that could be some other savings on future capital that we could use those funds on as well. So we will have some options. But as Commissioner Burgess said, as we get through some of these projects, we'll have a better understanding of how much is left and what all could be used for.
Okay, county administrator report.
I'm fine for today. Thank you.
Okay.
I think you heard me enough.
County commissioner reports.
I have none at this time.
Okay.
Had a K-Camp, our insurance board meeting last week, and so hopefully, cross my fingers a little bit, we'll see some insurance savings with some things that we've done on the board. That should trickle down to the counties and save us some insurance premiums. Then I also want to congratulate all the graduates this past weekend, especially all the local ones, Fort Hayes and Hayes High, Victoria, Ellis, TMP. And best of luck to all the graduates as they're out and about. That's what I got.
Okay, I'm gonna, first, I guess I went and made a trip to Lenore to the Mayortown, watched the fifth graders go through that. I had not ever been there. Amazing how some of them kids can write checks and use a debit card already. But it was pretty exciting. They had anywhere from medical to a mayor of the town. It was about a 4.5-5 hour process, but it was well worth the time. So kudos to the teachers at teaching them and getting our kids educated. The other thing, I'm going to brag on the Boy Scouts again. They were at the grand reopening at Walmart. Walmart gave since everybody knows they make you get lost in that store, so you buy something here and there, which is business. They gave a lot of money back to our community. So they are putting back money into our county, city for scholarships, whatever it may be. It may have been a $500 up to $2,500, but they put a lot of money back into our community. So thank them for that. So that's all I have.
Okay. At this time, I'll move the Board of County Commissioners recess to executive session for 20 minutes pursuant to the attorney-client privilege exception. Subject to be discussed during the executive session is solid waste contract. Open session will resume at 10:10. In the commission chambers. Those in attendance, in addition to the Board of County Commissioners, are Justin Craig, Bill Jeter, and Darren Myers.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
resume yet.
Nice. We need to get our clock synced.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, no decisions were made.
All right. At this time, I'll move the Board of County Commissioners recess to executive session for 45 minutes under the following exception to the Kansas Open Meetings Act. Pursuant to the confidential data trade secrets exception, subject to be discussed during the executive session is to discuss data relating to the financial affairs or trade secrets of corporations, partnerships, trusts, or individual proprietorships. Open session will resume at 11:05 in the commission chambers. Those in attendance, in addition to the Board of County Commissioners, are David Klingon, Doug Williams, Darren Myers, and Bill Jeter.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. 5.